Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I am Katee Sackhoff. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Sackhoff Show. I'm so happy that you are here. Today's guest is extraordinary, and I cannot wait to get there. I want to remind you all to stick around for the Hindsight because there's so much to talk about for this guest. And if you haven't done that, I think you'll enjoy it. Send your questions and your comments to the sackoffshow@gmail.com. We answer so many of your questions, but we also have a special section for the Patreon. Yes, we have a Patreon. If you don't know about that, come check it out. We have so many perks for you all. We have extended hindsights. We have merch. We have Q&As. We have the live shows. We have access to me and Jeph. But access to me, where I actually talk to you guys quite a bit. It's just this community that we've been building, and there's a chat room over there that has been really, really, really fun. And it's really turning into what I wanted it to turn into, which is this awesome group of people that are there talking to each other and supporting each other, but also I'm there as well. So come check that out at patreon.com/The Sackhoff Show. And if you want to come see the podcast live recording, you can come out to Rebel Scum. That's rebelscumconventions.com to get your tickets. We will be there Sunday, August 10th at noon with our extraordinary guest, Miss Emily Swallow. So come check that out. And if you can't make the podcast on Sunday, come say hi to me anyway. I'll be there on Saturday, and I can't wait to see you all. Today's guest, I am so excited, you all. Today's guest is none other than the extraordinary, the legend himself, Mr. George Takei. It rhymes with gay. I am just in love with him. He is such a wonderful human being. If you don't know who George is, he was in the original Star Trek. He played Sulu. He was in Heroes. He is an amazing activist. He is an author. And he was in The Big Bang Theory with me. But he has this new amazing book. It's right behind me. It's a new graphic memoir that is really wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I highly suggest you check that out also. It rhymes with Takei. It's really great. We're going to talk about that, but I'm just going to get out of your way because I feel like this is a really important episode, and it's a really moving episode, and he is 88 years young. So I'm going to get out of your way and let you get to know this wonderful human being, George Takei, a little bit better. Hi, George.
Live long and prosper.
It's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you since, oh my gosh, 10 years ago when we did The Big Bang Theory together.
Yes. It's been about 10 years.
Oh my gosh. I still look back on that time with you. Number one, to have been able to work with you was such a dream come true, but I laughed so much and it was so much fun.
It was.
It really was. Do you remember how that came about? You playing yourself in such a crazy way on The Big Bang Theory?
Well, shortly before that, I came out. I've been closeted for most of my adult life. And at 68 years old, which is very late, I came out. And then all the calls started coming in. A Big Bang episode being one of them. I can't remember the shows. What's that? There's a lot of evaporation going on in my upstairs here. I just celebrated my 88th birthday, and together comes all the accoutrements of aging, and forgetfulness is a major part of that.
Well, congratulations, though, 88.
Well, the Japanese consider that a propitious year. It's the year that we step into our second childhood. Okay. And it's celebrated in a big way. My husband, Brad, organized it all, and he's a very detail-oriented guy. There's a happy coat, a costume Usually it's red, but an even higher grade is gold, a gold hoppy coat and a gold bonnet. And they put that on you on the birthday boy to celebrate the entry into your second childhood. And we had my nephew and his family, his wife and two kids who are adults now, and all our friends in our building. We have a restaurant on the 30th floor of our building. This is in New York.
Yeah.
So we had this room full of, I think, about 20 people, and they christened me on my childhood. And so I just sang them a song.
I absolutely love that. That's amazing. 88 years young. Are you hearing that a lot?
A child, yes.
Yeah.
And I really am beginning to feel it. I'm getting sillier and more willful, and my poor hubby is crawling up the wall, proverbial wall.
Well, you bring up Brad, and in your book, you mentioned coming out later in life, and you also met Brad in your running group.
Yes.
And
LA front runners.
Yeah. How long did you and Brad live in a closeted relationship together?
It's almost 40 years. Next year will be 40 years. So we've been together for that long, but we couldn't legalize it.
Right.
That was a major factor. In my book, I talk about when we were denied Brad sharing a really significant moment in my life. President Clinton appointed me to the U.S.-Japan Friendship Commission.
Yes.
And the mission is to build bridges across the Pacific to Japan. And I happen to be the founder of the Japanese American National Museum and still a member of its board. And during my tenure, I arranged for one of our exhibits on the history of Japanese Americans to be sent to Japan to travel to 8 cities, starting with Okinawa from the south and all the way up to the North Island. And so it was the Emperor of Japan honored me by granting me the Order of the Rising Sun with gold rays and rosettes. And he gave that kind of honor to other people in other countries, France, Brazil, etc. And we were invited to the Imperial Palace to see that honor. And so we flew to Tokyo and we gathered at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the 20 couples got together there, had a brief reception, and then we got on a bus, and that took us to the Imperial Palace, where we parked, and in very orderly fashion, we got off with our spouses. And when my turn came and I got off the bus, there was a Chamberlain, unusual for a Japanese. It was about 6'5", and dressed in a morning coat with white gloves. And when Brad followed me off the bus, or he attempted to, the Chamberlain stopped him and said, "Stop. You cannot step on the imperial soil." And we said, "Why? He's my partner." Well, we weren't married yet.
Yeah.
It was illegal. And he said, unmarried couples can't bring their friends and step on imperial soil. It was devastating. We'd been together for at least 10, 15 years by that time. But Brad had to retreat back onto the bus. And I waved him through the bus window and got in line with the other couples, and we filed into the grand hall, and we were seated. The honorees were seated, and our spouses were behind us, except for me. No one was there behind me. And the emperor gave us our recognition. But what could have been, what was really, truly an extraordinary event in our lives was a devastatingly painful event. And things like that happen. People, we have LGBTQ friends who say it's no big thing. Now that we have it, they have the option of not choosing to get married. But we really understand the profound meaning of a marriage, a legal marriage, and the kind of respect that is granted to that legality. Mm-hmm. And so I'm off on
well, no, not at all. It's there is a version of your life, George, that could have literally just been about surviving from a very young age in internment camps, and then living a closeted life, and then your life of activism and fighting for rights. You spent decades speaking up. Where does that fire come from?
I think my values and my activism, my commitment to social justice was shaped when I was a child, 5 years old. I can never forget that terrifying morning in May when my father came into the bedroom I shared with my brother, Henry, a year younger than me, dressed us hurriedly, and told us to wait in the living room while he helped my mother get packed. My baby sister was in a cradle in their bedroom. And there's nothing to do in the living room, so Henry and I were standing by the front window just gazing out at the neighborhood. And suddenly, we saw 2 soldiers marching up our driveway. They carried rifles with shiny bayonets on them. They stomped up the steps, stomped across the porch, and began banging on the front door with their fists. Henry and I were petrified. It was terrifying. My father came out, answered the door, and one of the soldiers pointed his bayonet at my father's head, right in front of us. Henry and I just stood there, stunned. And the other soldier said, "Get your family out of here." And my father said, "I need 5 more minutes. I have to help my wife finish packing." And he said, "Okay, you have 5 minutes." So my father started back to their bedroom, and the guy that pointed his bayonet at my father followed him all the way into their bedroom. And we just stood there, just literally frozen, just staring at the other soldier. And then my father came out, hefting 2 suitcases, and he had little boxes under his arm. He put the suitcases down and gave us each those boxes to carry. They were our socks, underwear, T-shirts, things like that. And then he picked up his suitcases again and said, "Follow me." And we followed him onto the driveway. And we stood there waiting for our mother. And when she finally emerged, she had our baby sister in one arm, a huge, heavy-looking duffel bag in the other, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. It was a traumatizing morning that is seared into my memory. I'll never forget that one morning in May.
Do you see any similarities to what's sort of happening right now in our country? And how does that affect you?
Life is cyclical, and it repeats itself if we don't learn the lessons. And clearly, this country has not learned the lesson that happened to us back in 1942. Mm. Our system is a great system, democracy. But when I was in my early teens, I remember the terror of our incarceration, but I didn't understand it. I was too young to understand it. And so after dinner, I had many after-dinner conversations about our imprisonment with my father. And I peppered him with questions. And my father was one of the few parents of my generation. I discovered other people of my age, their parents wouldn't talk about our imprisonment because of, I guess, the pain, and they talk about the shame. But the shame is really the government's. My father talked about it. My father said, and he often quoted from Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. He said, our government is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. He said, those are noble words. That's what makes American democracy great. But at the same time, the weakness of our democracy is in those words, of the people, by the people, and for the people. Because with those words comes the responsibility of citizenship to engage in a government like that. We, the people, are the people that determine what kind of government ours is to be. And so he told us as kids, he says, all my children, I want you to be active at school. Join clubs, support charitable causes, be active in school. And so I was active in student government. I was student body president in middle school. In high school, I served as a senior board president. And so I practiced what my father taught us about our democracy, that it requires our participation to make it a good form of government. Mm. If we fail and let hysteria take over, that's when our government becomes authoritarian.
Yeah, well, you have said that democracy is fragile.
Yes, it is. Because people get stampeded and the cycle is happening again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
just this past weekend, we had No Kings demonstration.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that No Kings demonstration was so powerful and effective. That Klingon in the White House tried to give himself a birthday present by having a bristling military parade in Washington, D.C. It was attended by only a sprinkling of people, but across the country, 2,000 demonstrations, No King demonstrations were held. That is our democracy in its full power and glory. Mm. That's what our democracy must be. We, the people. But that man who's never served in elective office, wasn't a congressperson, wasn't a staffer in government, never served in the military. He avoided military service because of a bone spur, heel spur. He's actually a twice convicted felon, now in that powerful office. And we are in perilous circumstances now. Mm-hmm.
This episode is sponsored by Honeylove. All right, guys, real talk. This might make you slightly uncomfortable, but I'm going to talk about boobs. Yes, I'm going to talk about boobs. I'm going to talk about my boobs. Here's the deal. I have been wearing the same bras for probably 20 years. Not the same bras, but the same brand bras. And they also discontinued them. And I've been wearing them because I haven't been able to find a bra that I love. I've tried all of them. Every single time I've seen a bra on Instagram, I've gone, I'm going to try that bra. That looks super great. And I get it and I hate it. And my bras, the ones that I thought I loved, they don't fit me anymore because here's a news flash. Sorry, my boobs do not sit in the same place that they did 15 years ago. Newsflash. Oh my gosh, they don't. So when a friend of mine was telling me about Honeylove and the fact that she loved this bra, I thought to myself, sure, another one. Here's the deal. It's amazing. I wasn't expecting to love a bra this much. And I honestly thought there is no way that a wireless bra is going to actually support me, especially on long days or under certain outfits. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but you move around in a bra and sometimes they ride up and I'm constantly having to pull it down, or it gives you that weird like back fat thing, which is awful. I was wrong about this. I tried Honeylove and I am so hyped. The first oh wow moment was the support. The bras, it doesn't have an underwire, which I really don't like, but I always thought I needed. This doesn't have an underwire. And somehow it still lifts my girls and puts them in the same place, and they stay in the same place all day. No tugging or adjusting. Whether I'm running around with my kids or I'm on set, this is the perfect bra. Like, it just works. I don't know how they did it. Treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. Save 20% off Honeylove at honeylove.com/Sackhoff. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off. Honeylove.com/Sackhoff to find your perfect fit. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in bras and shapewear with Honeylove. Do it. I promise you will not be disappointed. This episode is sponsored by Mint Mobile. You know what shouldn't be part of your summer plan? Getting severely sucker punched by a ridiculous wire bill. I'm not kidding. My wireless bill is over $300 a month. And that's why I finally switched to Mint Mobile. So a couple of reasons why I made the switch. Number one, that $300 is insane. But also, I was talking to somebody, like my brother's friend. He has Mint Mobile, and he said that I can keep my phone, keep my number, nothing changed except the price. And then he said, it's the same great coverage as what we had because it's on the nation's largest 5G network. But here's the thing. I was paying $300 a month and dropping calls constantly. Where we live, there's like this dead zone, literally like a dead zone that I just know. You know, when you're driving and you're on the phone with someone and you go, hey, hold on, this is where I'm going to lose you. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Remember that? Yeah. So I was like, will it hold up? Will it actually get me through this dead zone? I kid you not. It did. I was like blown away. I called my husband and I was like, you remember the dead zone? Mint Mobile carried me through it. I couldn't believe it. And right now they're offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Sackhoff. That's mintmobile.com/Sackhoff. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. How have you seen political activism change since you first came on the scene? And what did activism look like then compared to now?
When I was a teenager, I was and that's when the civil rights movement, African Americans demonstrated demonstrating for equality was coming to the fore. And I recognized the issue is the same as what imprisoned us. They're demonstrating for the same thing. For us, it was just 4 years of unjust imprisonment. They just arbitrarily plucked a charge out of thin air. Enemy alien. We were neither. We were not the enemy, and we were not aliens. My mother was born in Sacramento. My father was a San Franciscan. We were born in Los Angeles, we children. And yet they categorize us as enemy alien and send soldiers out to round us up. It's a very fragile system dependent on people who cherish the ideals. And during the Second World War, there are a few incredibly courageous people. Wayne Collins, an ACLU attorney, is one of my heroes. And he was the only attorney in all of the United States who would represent Japanese Americans. They wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole. Wayne Collins challenged the internment all the way to the Supreme Court. And in 1944, the Supreme Court ruled against him. But that was because, here again, the fallibility of our government. The government had an naval intelligence report that was made before Pearl Harbor. This intelligence officer studied the Japanese American community across the United States and came up with a report saying the Japanese American community is one of the most patriotic groups in America. That flat out statement. When Wayne Collins challenged it, the internment, all the way to the Supreme Court, the Solicitor General, the government's attorney, hid that naval intelligence report, and therefore the Supreme Court was able to rule against Wayne Collins and his effort to get justice for us. So it is so our democracy is fragile and so dependent on citizens who take on the responsibility of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And it's still relevant today. Yeah. And no King's rallies or we the people getting together and speaking out.
Yeah. You know, you talk about that experience in your first book, They Called Us Enemy. It's very much of what you're talking about right now. I want to talk about the style of the books, actually. So it rhymes with Takei and They Called Us Enemy. Both of those books are graphic novels. Why did you feel
I object to the term graphic novel. Okay. Because novel means fiction. Okay. Something made up, created. My book is not a novel. I lived it. It's an autobiography, graphic biography. Okay. Told in pictures. So I'm going to try to get the media that keeps calling it a graphic novel. It's because my story is it's authentic. Yeah. And it's based on truth. Yeah. Not fiction. And so the people who put on these conversations need to use the appropriate term. Yeah. So what is it about that style that intrigued you? Because it takes this incredible dark subject matter at times, and puts it in I don't want to say a more palatable form,
but a form that is unintimidating to people to want to take in the knowledge and your story. Is that purposeful?
Yes, indeed. It is purposeful. I decided with, they called us enemy, that I want to reach a lot of people. It's because there's an important American lesson to be learned from that chapter of American history. And I wanted a large readership. And when we were released from imprisonment, when I was a child, my father bought us a comic book. It was an explosive event in our lives. The world, I mean, and pictures. And then he bought us a portable radio. Audioly, I went to the American West, Bobby Benson and the B-Barbie Riders, or Manhattan, gangbusters, urban crime. I mean, I saw how stories can be told in drawn form or just listening. And then my father took us later, when we were a little bit more economically comfortable, to see movies. And my love of comic books when we first came out reminded me, kids love comic books. And this lesson is one that people should learn from the time that they're children, so that when they become adults, they become participants in democracy. And so I chose to tell the story that way. It was not only young people, but I discovered there are elderly people who don't want to read letters, but they like comic books. And so there's that vast readership, if you will. And so I decided, well, it rhymes with Takei. I should have the same kind of audience support. And I did it as a graphic memoir.
And what about right now made this story important for you to tell?
I came out when I was 68 years old. It came out the 10th of July because I wrote it during the COVID pandemic. I had all this time, nothing else to pull me away from my computer.
You were one of the ones that did something productive during.
Yes. Well, I needed to. I couldn't just sit around and enjoy our garden and all that. So I said, I'm going to write my autobiography as a graphic memoir. And I finished it, the writing part, in 23. But then it has to go to the artist to draw the story. And the comic books people who know how to interpret my text into panels.
Right.
I'm running here and I'm lying down here, So it goes through that process. And then after the artist draws it, then it goes to the colorist, and the colorist colors that. And then it goes to the publicist who plan a strategy. And this happens to be Pride Month. And so that's how it got to be 2025. But the book was finished. The writing part was done by 23.
Right. So when I think of you, I mean, I grew up with Star Trek in my house. I mean, I honestly didn't realize that they were in reruns, and I thought that I could marry Captain Kirk. Like I didn't realize that Bill was so old. But what I find so interesting about it, about you in particular, is that when I think of you now, with all of the knowledge of Sulu, I still think of you as George Takei. First and foremost. So I think that there's an entire generation that may be aware of Sulu, but is more aware of just the personality of George Takei. Was that by accident, or did you just feel like putting yourself out there, this grand, you're larger than life in your joy and who you are as a person, and you've always been so good at poking fun at yourself even, but using humor to also talk about things that mattered. So was it intentional? Was it just by accident, or were you just being yourself?
Well, this thing called an acting career is wonderful in that it transmogrifies as you go along. And yes, Star Trek was that, but I've done other series, Heroes, where I have some magical power, and my son equally has more magical powers. Or I did another series called Super Ninjas, where I'm the ghostly grandfather, a martial arts expert who teaches my grandchildren martial arts. And so my acting career takes different forms, different content, and different periods of life. But also, I'm an activist. My career has given me a platform so that I can advocate on the civil rights movement. When I was my early part of my activism period, I did a civil rights musical. I'm an actor, so a theater piece, and I did a Broadway musical called Allegiance on the internment of Japanese Americans. And so my acting career gave me various different arenas with which to espouse my issues. And a great guy and a powerful entertainment personality, Howard Stern, offered me the opportunity to be the announcer. He doesn't need announcing, but he gave me that title, and he wanted me to be a regular. But I said, I'm an actor. I'm not going to give that up for you. So I'll agree to do 1 week every quarter of the year. And some years back, I gave him that. And so he, again, not only gave me the opportunity to do some vocal and advocating, but he spoke as Howard Stern, a decent guy, about the injustice of our phobia of LGBTQ people. And so I owe my career and my life in so many ways to so many people, and the uniqueness of the gift I've been given.
I read a story about your friendship with Howard Stern, and I was so surprised by it because it wasn't something on paper that I expected. But I love that the oh my, which is like your catchphrase. Like you said it when we were on, I just remember being on Big Bang Theory and having that moment when we were in the car in the back, being the devil and the angel over, Wolowitz, trying to get him to make out with Bernadette, and just the oh my. It was so funny. And I didn't realize that came from Howard Stern show.
Yes, it did. And he had it on, I said it once, but he had it on tape. And whether I'm there on the air or not, when someone says or does something outrageous, he presses a button and my voice comes on with, oh my. And so when I'm doing a book signing, these guys come up to me with a book, slip it on in front of me and say, when this first guy did that, and he said, to Bob, signed it to "Oh My." I said, "Oh my, why?" And she says, "It's from Howard Stern." I said, "Oh, I see." And I still get that for it rhymes with Takei. I've signed more than a few copies already with to Jack. Oh my, George Takei.
Every time I have to sign a photo from The Big Bang Theory, I want to write "Oh my."
Bravo. I give it to you. You can usurp it.
Yeah? Okay, good. Just for those photos. I want to ask just one more question about Star Trek, but then I want to talk about the book more. But was there a time when you realized that show and Sulu was bigger than you had imagined? Or did that come later?
No, I saw it when I was first cast as an extraordinarily lucky opportunity. Because Gene Roddenberry's philosophy, he was a real visionary for American society, as well as a talented and imaginative storyteller. And that acronym that we had on Star Trek, IDIC, IDIC, infinite diversity in infinite combinations, was the way I thought way before Star Trek. But it so captured what we need in order to reach that idealized future. Look at the cast. I mean, it's diverse. The first officer is a half alien, pointy-eared, green-blooded, Spock, played brilliantly by Leonard Nimoy. We had a country doctor. The engineer was a Scotsman, played by a Canadian. And he wasn't even Scottish. He was an Irishman, Irish Canadian, born in Vancouver. And he told me, I'm really not Scottish. I'm an Irishman, but by gum, Irish people are talented. And I said, you're right. You are the quintessential Scotsman, as far as I'm concerned. And he became a great friend. And this was when we were having drinks, and he could wash down a lot of Scottish whiskey.
As Irish as he was.
Yes, he was. And we had, at the height of the Cold War, a character who spoke with a Russian accent and named Chekhov, and a trusted member of our team. And we also had an African-American woman. One of the first times that a television series had a woman in a leadership position. Nichelle Nichols was was the personification of a lot of important things, and she was not just African American. There was French blood in her, and she also had Cherokee blood, Native American. So she was the most American one of us all. We had that kind of diversity to visually underscore IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite combinations, working together in concert, bringing not just our ethnic heritage, but our experience, our talents, our faiths, and facing a common challenge and working out a solution. So I love being cast in Star Trek because of the combination of Gene's vision and philosophy, his enormous talent, and that cast which became great friends. And I was a pretty good actor, being closeted, I thought. But, actors are sophisticated people, and they knew. But they remained silent because they knew if they talked, it could be destructive to me. And so I so appreciate they've become friends, my colleagues. And so we had Walter Koenig, who was Chekhov, as my best man. And we asked Nichelle to be our matron of honor. But Nichelle initially said, I am not a matron. If Walter can be the best man, why can't I be the best lady? And I said, of course you are. I was just being traditional, but yes, you are our best lady. But I was thinking at the same time, the opposite of best man is best woman. And Michelle just gave herself an upgrade.
I applaud them all for that. But, I think that even in the industry now, we all know people who are still choose to be closeted, men and women in this industry. It's not my story. It's not for me to tell. It has nothing to do with me. I will never know what that feels like. And to not be able to feel confident to be yourself authentically and have to choose between your authentic self and your career. I can't imagine what that feels like. And I don't think anyone needs their cast members making that more difficult and fearful of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most certainly.
Yeah.
And you guys were great on The Big Bang Theory. Everybody was very supportive.
Yeah, I'm sure. You tell a story about sharing, because I was going to ask you if your cast members knew, because you share a story about sharing a bed with Nichelle Nichols in your book. And she's like, I know you're not going to try anything.
Yeah, we got caught in a horrible storm and we couldn't land in Pittsburgh. The convention was in Charleston, West Virginia. And we were supposed to land in Pittsburgh, Philly, I think, and get a connecting flight to Charleston. And we couldn't land until it was too late to catch our connecting flight.
Right.
And of course, the airport was in chaos. Everybody was trying to get a connecting flight to complete their journey. And having that difficulty, everybody had gotten their hotel rooms. And we were so busy trying to find get our connections that we couldn't find a nearby hotel room. We had to go to one about an hour away from Philadelphia in the mountainous areas. And we finally got there, and they had only 2 vacancies, 4 of us, 3 guys and 1 gal. And somebody had to double up with Nichelle, which would be a great treat for somebody.
I was going to say.
And so we all drew straws, and guess who got the short straw? Me. And so Jimmy and Walter got 1 room, and Nichelle and the guy, and Nichelle said, oh, that's good. That's fine. And we went to our room, and being a gentleman, I offered to sleep on the couch and she can have the bed. And Nichelle said, darling, I know who you are. Get your body in this bed.
I love that.
That's one of the extraordinary moments. I can claim that I went to bed with Nichelle Nichols.
I love it.
I know I'd be the envy of so many guys.
Did you ever talk to Gene Roddenberry about his intention with the show and the intentional castings and the intentional characters, and if he received any pushback or during that time when he was trying to create Star Trek?
Well, he did an extraordinary thing. I mean, he's always open. He was going through a divorce, and he had a house up in the Hollywood Hills with a beautiful swimming pool and a view of Los Angeles. And so the party was going on at one end of the pool. Gene decided to go for a swim, and he swam to the far end, and he was just resting, looking up at the stars. And so I whipped up off my shirt and I swam beside him. I started a conversation with him, and I said, I'm so proud to be associated with this show and the kind of subjects that you take on. The civil rights movement, the war in Vietnam, disguised in the future, but all these issues of our time that you are dramatizing in the future. And given all those, what would you think about dealing with an issue that's coming, starting to boil over LGBTQ equality? And he said, yes, I'm aware of that. But you remember the show in which we had Kirk kiss Uhura, a black and white kiss.
First ever
in American television. And he said, that show was the lowest rated of all the shows that we've had. The ratings just plummeted on that show because many of the southern stations refused to air it because of the black-white kiss. I've been dealing with a lot of controversial issues. And if I deal with the LGBTQ issue, that will further push our ratings down. And I'm walking a tightrope as I am, and I want to keep the show on. So I can't do that. I've got to keep the show on the air. And I understood because I was a closeted guy talking to him about it. So I understood. And so I respect Gene Roddenberry's candor and explaining what we did. But I knew that the enormous limitations that we have on particularly public television, so dependent on ratings.
Right. Well, I mean, it's how many years later and we're still having the conversation. You see the controversy over The Last of Us and how people turned it off because of characters talking about, I didn't watch the episode. I have two little kids. I barely watch anything other than animation these days, but I know the controversy was about a character saying, and she was joking even, but she said, I'm going to be a dad. And people had such a problem with that, an actor I know underneath that post on Instagram said that he was offended by the storyline. Christians being offended, people who are supposed to walk as Jesus did in love and love your neighbor, finding so much problem with the way other people choose to live their life. It just blows my mind, and it really breaks my heart that we're still having problems today.
It's a slow process, but it's a steady process. We're making progress inch by quarter inch. It's happening. And it's so important for us to be strongly optimistic. Because if you're pessimistic, you've lost already. The game is over. It's the optimists that make things happen because we say we can do it. We can make it. We can keep going. And
even now in the political climate that we're in right now, and you see so many people hell-bent on stripping rights away from people that fought so hard for them in the first place, even now you have to stay optimistic?
It's a horrific time. But I remember talking with my father about what it was like during the Second World War for Japanese Americans. The whole world, all of America was crashing in on them. Immediately, my parents happened to be walking down the sidewalk in front of our house, and they were attacked. A car came roaring up, and they shouted, "Jap, spy, go back. We'll kill you." And they quickly came back into the house. And then the government came down with a curfew. We had to be home by 8 p.m. and stay home until 6 a.m. A young attorney who became a good friend of mine in Portland, Oregon, had just opened his law offices in downtown Portland. And when the curfew came down, he knew as a lawyer that this was illegal. You can't come down with the curfew based on race. And so he got dressed in his suit and tie after 8 o'clock, came downtown, walked around all over, looked at all the show windows, strolled into a drugstore, bought a pack of chewing gum, made himself very visible. Nothing happened. He was getting tired. By 10 o'clock, he found a policeman on the street, went up to him and said, "I'm a Japanese American. I've been walking around downtown. What are you going to do about it?" He said, "Go home, boy. Go home. Don't bother me." So he was a determined guy. He went to the police station downtown and said, "I've been walking around downtown. I'm a Japanese American. What are you going to do about it?" So they accommodated him and put him in a jail cell. If you were out, if you were a Japanese American and out after 8 p.m., the police picked you up and threw you in jail. That's the kind of America we were living in. And for my parents, we never went out in the dark. And then my father went to the bank to take care of some money in business. He discovered that his bank account was frozen. Our money was gone. The government took it. It was confiscated because we were Japanese Americans. So we didn't pay the mortgage on the house, and the bank didn't make any fuss about it because they knew they'd be taking our home. And sure enough, the soldiers came, and for them it was devastating to have everything taken from you, nothing, including the last penny in our bank account. It was a horrible time. And then after a year of imprisonment, the government realized that we had a wartime manpower shortage. And here are all these young men and women that they could have had, but they categorized as enemy alien and locked us up. How do we justify recruiting them as soldiers in the U.S. Army? They came down with a loyalty questionnaire. After all that, the assaults, the bank account, imprisonment for a year, and then they decided that they need to have people sign loyalty questionnaires. There are two key questions that they had to have yes answers to. Question 27 asked, "Are you willing to serve in the United States military on combat duty wherever ordered?" This being asked of our parents. They had 3 children, very young children. I was 5. My brother was 4. Baby sister was 2. And they said, what's going to happen to our children? They said, we have no plans for the children. They're not going to abandon us.
Mm.
So they answered, no, we're not going to abandon our children, not knowing what's going to happen to them. Question 28 was one sentence with 2 ideas. It asked, will you swear your loyalty to the United States of America and forswear your loyalty to the Emperor of Japan? The Emperor of Japan were Americans. For the government to assume that we have an inborn racial loyalty to the Emperor was insulting. And so if you answered no, meaning I don't have loyalty to the Emperor to swear, that no applied to the first part of the very same sentence, will you swear your loyalty to the United States? If you thought that was the more important one, part of that sentence, you answered yes, I do swear my loyalty to the United States. That yes applied to the second part of that same sentence, meant you were confessing that you had been loyal to the Emperor, and now were willing to forswear that and re-swear your loyalty to the United States. My parents said, this is crazy. We're not going to give up our integrity for this. They answered no. So with those 2 no's, they were now recategorized from enemy alien to disloyal. Disloyal enemy aliens. I mean, it was a time of stupidity, confusion, and idiocy. And now, and as so many people answered no, that they said, we can't have them mingling with the loyal ones. So they categorized one camp as, recategorized as a segregation camp for disloyals, and collected the disloyals from all 9 camps and imprisoned them there. And Tule Lake, this segregation camp, became the largest, the biggest population, and the most bristling with militarism and harshness of all 10 camps. The disloyals were gathered there. Tule Lake had 3 layers of barbed wire fences. They had machine guns installed in the sentry towers aimed down at us, and they had a half a dozen tanks, $1 million vehicles that belong on a battlefield, half a dozen of them roaming around the perimeters, holding now agitated, angry American citizens with that kind of intimidation. I mean, it was incredible to the extent that this government went to torture and traumatize people that were innocent. I mean, had nothing to do with Pearl Harbor. So we came from that. And so knowing that background and knowing what we, the people, can do when it's made hysterical, I'm not surprised that we're going through the America that we're going through. But also, I'm confident that we will survive this and come out better Americans, because I think America got better after that World War II experience. The United Nations, NATO,
Right.
Our enemy in the Pacific, Japan, is now a closest ally. Same thing with Europe. Our enemy in Europe, Germany, is our closest ally. So, yes, I'm optimistic. We will overcome what we're dealing with now.
What do you hope to see in your lifetime for LGBTQ plus people and the rights? And how do we make it through the next 3 years?
I already see the signs. I am a fan and a passionate supporter of Pete Buttigieg.
Isn't he smart?
Smart and knows how to assess a situation on the moment and come out with a response that is eminently rational and logical, and served as the Secretary of Transportation, the best Secretary of Transportation we've ever had. And he's still keeping himself very public and visible, commenting on various issues. I'm going to be supporting him. We have people we can respect and get excited about as leaders of the future.
Right.
Always be optimistic. The minute you become pessimistic, you're defeated.
I could listen to you talk and take up so much. I could take up the entire 88th year, which I won't do. Thank you so much for sitting down and being so just a breath of fresh air and so candid about your life and what you've gone through. And I thoroughly enjoyed It Rhymes with Takei. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for writing it.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
And we will ultimately prevail. Be optimistic. That's how we survive.
Thank you. I would do this, but I can't. I can't do it. I have to hold them together, George. I can't do it.
You're too human. You're not a Vulcan. But you will live long and prosper.
Thank you. This episode is brought to you by OneSkin. Okay, let's talk skincare, because if you're like me, you have tried a lot of things over the years. Some that smelled weird, some that promised miracles, and a few that maybe kind of worked. Well, OneSkin is different. It's the first line that I have used that actually makes my skin feel stronger and healthier. I have talked about this before, not just temporarily smoother. And now I've been using the full line of mineral SPFs, the face, the body, the lip, and it's now a permanent part of my daily routine. So we all know that we need to wear sunscreen. We have been told this so many times, but OneSkin goes further. Their OS1 was developed by a team of all women scientists who literally have PhDs in skin regeneration and stem cell biology. So when they say it protects and repairs, they're not guessing. They're backing it up with legit science. Here's what's happened since I started using it. My skin feels smoother. My tone looks more even. And I started seeing some of those little sunspots and fine lines fade that are from years of spending way too much time in the sun without SPF. The face SPF is super lightweight. So on the days that I don't wear makeup, it gives me just enough glow. And on those days that I do, it layers beautifully. So this is great. The tinted one is my go-to. I love it. The body SPF doesn't feel sticky and it's water resistant, which is a must for kids in the summer. And the new lip SPF, I'm obsessed. I keep one in my bag, one in my car, one in the diaper bag. I mean, it's that good. What I love most is that OneSkin's not just trying to sell beauty. Their whole mission is about skin longevity. They're looking at what actually happens at the cellular level as we age and how to slow that process down. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code Sackhoff at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Sackhoff. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. This episode is brought to you by Raycon. You know how sometimes a remake actually nails it? Think Mad Max Fury Road, or that one remix you didn't expect to love. That's exactly what Raycon just did. Their everyday earbud classic, already a fan favorite. They're back and better than ever, now with active noise cancellation. They're seriously, you guys, these are my go-to when I need to tune out the chaos of everything, whether I'm on set, doing a workout, or hiding from my kids, doing laundry for a second of sanity. They stay put and the sound is amazing. They have 8 hours of playtime, 32 hours of battery, and these things just don't quit. You have heard me talk about this before. One of the things that I love is that I can forget to charge my Raycons, plug them in, and I can get so much charge so fast. In like 10 minutes, I have hours of playtime. The latest version of Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic now features active noise cancellation, the one thing that they were missing, which everybody needs. Come on, if you're on a plane and you're listening like myself, the last thing I want to hear is the guy snoring next to me. Or if I'm listening to a podcast and I want to not hear my kids for 5 seconds while I'm doing laundry, sometimes it's a good thing, trust me. Pair all of this with a playtime of 32-hour battery and 8 hours of playtime. Your Raycons will never leave your ears. I'm always wearing mine. I love my green too. You guys have heard me talk about it. I love it. It's like this beautiful watermelon green, but I think they call it forest green. If you don't believe me, just check out tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. And Icon returns. Get yours today with free shipping on every pair of Raycon earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/Sackhoff to get 20% off the fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. Right now, Raycon is offering 20% off Everyday Earbuds Classic. Buyraycon.com/Sackhoff. This episode was sponsored by Raycon. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hindsight. How was that? That was crazy, Jeph.
I mean, I'm just in awe of him in general. Like I could listen to him forever. Not only because his voice is just incredible, but just such an inspiring guy.
He is, I could literally, I said to him, I could take up your entire life listening to you talk. But I feel like Brad would be like, where's my husband?
Yes, exactly. He's like, I need to spend the rest of my life with him, not you.
Not you, Katee, not you. When I met him, I think I've told you this story before, where when we did the Big Bang Theory and I had stolen my flight suit from Battlestar Galactica. I have now talked about this many, many times because they would only let us keep one thing. And I was like, I want more than one thing. So I stole my flight suit and then requested my helmet. The irony was that they gave me Kat's helmet, which just was mind-boggling to me and really pissed me off. But anyway, my point.
Wait, did you reconcile that? Did you ever get your helmet? No,
they sold it.
Oh.
But they tried to tell me that they didn't, that my helmet was used for it's complete bullshit. But whatever it is, it was one of my helmets. I got one of my helmets and I feel like it was the backup helmet that other people used as well. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I got a helmet and that's cool. But I also have my flight suit so they can go fuck themselves. But I wore it on the Big Bang Theory. And I was so nervous because I was like, oh my God, they're going to find out that I stole my flight suit. And I said to George, oh, I'm so nervous. They're going to find out I stole my flight suit. And he goes, honey, I stole this cape too. So I was like, okay, cool. And you know what I didn't realize, Jeph? I did not realize when we did the Big Bang Theory together that he had just only come out about 5 years before that.
Yeah, it seems
4 years.
It seems wild to ever think that there was a time where you didn't know that George Takei was gay.
Right? I guess there was a time that we didn't know that George Takei was gay. Obviously.
Or we knew, but nobody talked about it. It was in that time where, nobody talked about it. It was like, It was very... there's the great story that he tells in this episode with Nichelle Nichols in the hotel room, which is, I just love that story so much, because it's it's not only is it funny, and I love his, he just gets such a kick out of the idea that he got to, share
sleep in bed with her.
Yeah, which is the envy of many people. But it also just sort of like, it's such a sweet story because even though everybody knew that about him, nobody was worried about it. Nobody was trying to out him or whatever. It was just sort of an open secret that in one way was sad that he had to keep it a secret, but also just sort of sweet that he was able to, still have that life that he had with his co-stars and everything, and nobody really was bothering him about it. And that I'm aware of. I mean, he may have experienced a lot of stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah, he may have. It's in his graphic memoir as well, that story, the bed with Nichelle, which is great, and she's just wonderful as well. Yeah. I was literally just thinking, I was daydreaming as you were speaking, and I was wondering,
Thank you for just tuning me out.
Well, no, I was listening to you, but I was also thinking, it was reminding me of, and I think we've touched on this before, that we all know people, or at least I do, I know you must as well, who are still closeted in our industry because there's still such a stigma around sexuality. And in that, if you are gay or attracted to the same sex, you can't possibly play straight. Yeah. Now, we have also talked about this, that there is this push in Hollywood that if you're straight, they're trying to fill roles of queer individuals, LGBTQ+, with people that identify as that, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm all for everyone getting the opportunities that they need, and therefore I am a supporter of that. But I wonder, my question was, do you think that it is easier for women? Because I think of so many women have come out recently as queer. Yeah. Do you think that it's easier for, and I don't want to say easy, wrong word, because I don't, do you think maybe there's a little bit less stigma in our industry for women that come out than for men?
Yeah, but I think that's also sort of always been the case in a way. I mean, I feel like like when a woman comes out, it feels like less of a big deal for sure. But have there been any like high profile women who are traditional sex symbols that have come out? I mean,
I can probably think of a few that are bi.
Yeah. I mean, it is an interesting thing because it sort of gets into the whole product nature of it. But I think, because the classic example is like Rock Hudson, who was like a very famous, like manly man, like women loved him, men wanted to be him, and nobody found out he was gay until he got AIDS and died
of AIDS.
Right. And, it's such a sad story because, he had to hide who he was for so long. And there are people who still sort of fit that model who are like traditionally one, thing, like a masculine man or a very feminine woman. And then they have to like keep it in a certain way because what gets them work, what keeps them paid is being that type of thing. Yeah. I think the thing that has changed though is people who are more, presenting as queer are more comfortable to come out.
I think so too. Back to George, though, just in this context, it breaks my heart that two men who very clearly are devoted to each other and love each other have missed moments of celebration. Yeah. Because it was not allowed. That story of Brad not being allowed off the bus.
Yeah, to meet the emperor.
Was heartbreaking to me. And you could see that all these years later, it's still incredibly sad. I
mean, it's like, I think this is sort of a mindset that I think people have trouble with is like, not really putting themselves in those shoes, but it's like, imagine if you had an opportunity like that and Robin wasn't allowed to go with you, It
would break my heart. Yeah. It would break my heart.
Yeah. And if like through arbitrary rules, you weren't even allowed to like acknowledge your relationship, it's like, it's just so.
Well, let's be honest. It's not arbitrary rules. It's, religion.
It's religion and a lot of fear and demagoguery and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is it's just two individuals that love each other and want to spend their life with each other. And they're not allowed to do that because of some hateful rhetoric. Right.
It's awful. It's awful. It's just the whole thing. I wish that this country, like if I had the ability to grant one wish, it would be that people in the entire world care less about how someone else lives their life.
Yeah.
Because so much of the hatred and the bigotry in this entire world, in the affliction of rules and just I don't know, awfulness, so much of it, wars are fought because everyone is so concerned about what someone else does.
Yeah.
Like, just like, stop. And I mean, I guess like power is something that wouldn't, that goes into that. But
and
like, you know what I mean? Like,
and fear is a big aspect of it.
Why do we care so much what someone else does with their life?
Yeah. I mean, I think fear plays a huge part of it. I mean, if you look again at George's story, like since he was 5 years old, with being taken away, put in the internment camps, I mean, that was completely driven by fear.
Yes.
That, and it was interesting listening to his interview because we've had a conversation, sort of an ongoing conversation on these hindsights about like science fiction as metaphor for what's going on in the world. And we also sort of go back and forth on how much we want to talk about politics on this show, but it's like this interview was just so, like, if you're not taking away a lesson from this interview, then you're not really paying attention. And I think that we can look at what's going on in our world today and see that we haven't learned this lesson. And the it's not a direct relationship to science fiction necessarily, other than just like science fiction fan culture has allowed George to tell this story. And I really just hope people are paying attention. Yeah,
I agree. I agree completely. He's a wonderful human being. And the book is so interesting. Like, I just want to, this is the book. And I just want to open it to just a random page. So I've opened the book to just a random page 148. And what's on it doesn't matter, but it's the style of it. I find it so wonderful that you could write a memoir in the style of a graphic novel. So what I'm looking at looks exactly like, for layman's terms, it looks like a comic book.
Yeah.
But it's his life story.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to read because every single thing that happens in the book is a picture. You know what I mean? And it's beautifully done. The style is wonderful. And I love that. I've never seen that before. And I'm sure that other people have done it, but it's just so cool. And it's the second time he's done it.
There's a great one by John Lewis called March, which is John Lewis, the civil rights activist. He did a 2-part graphic novel or graphic memoir, I suppose, of his life, which is also really great. But I think George's reasoning for it was very astute with, he wanted it to be easily accessible to people. Yeah. Something specifically that younger people would be drawn to because of his experience, having read comic books as a kid and loving it and everything. And there's also, now I'm just thinking of other ones that are like this too. There's another one called Mouse, spelled M-A-U-S. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. It's a man's story about, I believe it's his story or maybe it's his parents' story, but it's about the Holocaust and living through that similar time period to what George is talking about in his original book. But yeah, they're a great way. I haven't actually read the book, but I think I'm going to pick it up.
I think that it's really smart. It takes not only are you targeting that younger generation, which the older generation has already very clearly fucked everything up, and the younger generations are the only thing that can save us all. So I feel like that's the right move. You want something that's palatable, but also this young generation is like, they've got the attention span of like a flea. So you really kind of get in there and change their minds quick. You know what I mean? Not change their minds. Open their minds.
Have you showed this to Jenny at all?
No, but she loves graphic novels. I haven't, only because it's been sitting right here. Yeah. But she loves graphic novels, and there's no blood in this one, so it's perfect.
How do you, I think some of our listeners have children. Have you thought about, or how do you navigate these kind of conversations with young kids?
You know, I think we've talked about this a lot in relation to Ginny's health journey. We've always been very open and honest with everything that she's going through, because it's happening to her. Mm-hmm. She has to know, and she deserves to know what's happening to her. But we also want her to have hope and to not have nightmares at night, and to still be a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you let me worry. Right. You just live your life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember a sidestep of this exact same thing, but when I was young, I've always had this like fear of like my parents leaving, of death for my parents, who are now almost 80. So obviously, you know, that didn't happen, knock on wood, and thankfully. But I remember my mom used to always say to me, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to leave you. But that's such a lie. Yeah. But I say the same thing to Ginny, because you know what? You should not be worried about me leaving you. You should not be worried about that. You're 3. We'll talk about that later in life. You know what I mean? But like, so there are certain things that you shield your child from, but I believe that she deserves to know humanity, fairness, living in a just world, like things that we want to be the truth. And we want her to emulate these things, you know? Yeah. We want her to know that sharing is a beautiful thing, but you also don't have to share if you don't want to. It's yours. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to not want to share. Right. And if you're allowed to not want to share, maybe you'll choose to share when you're done with that thing, because you're not worried it's going to get taken away. Right. You know, but we try to teach her kindness by showing her kindness and by showing other people kindness. But we also don't shield her from death. You know, which that's also a tough thing. Because in every Disney movie, the mother always dies. So now she's got this thing. She had this thing at one point where she would be like, the mommy dies. Yeah. And then she has this thing. She's got such a wonderful imagination. She loves playing make-believe. And she's like, can we play make-believe? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, okay, the mom dies. I'm like, great entry point. Great starting point. There we go. What happens after that?
Can I share one story real quick too, before we do that? So I actually met George when I was a child.
Did you find the photo?
I didn't find the photo, but I talked to my dad about it, and I know the photo. It's just a headshot of him. I think it's from one of the Star Trek movies. He's wearing like the burgundy sort of outfit, you know, and it's signed by him. This is before the oh my thing, so he doesn't have the oh my thing on it. But so I met him, and I was asking my dad about it, and we couldn't remember where it was, but it was at a convention. I think it was the only Star Trek convention I ever went to, but my dad then told me he had been to a convention in Chicago in the early 70s, and it was the first one where all 7 of the original Star Trek people got together. So this is like early 70s. This is like shortly after the show went off the air. And he told a fun story because they had on stage, they had sort of a replica of the bridge built from Star Trek.
They went all out.
Yeah, and I guess Shatner came out there, and the whole crowd just started like chanting, "Sit in the chair, sit in the chair," and then he sat in the chair, and everybody just went nuts. It was I bet they would do the same thing with Jonathan Frakes if there was a chair. On stage. Sit in the chair. You'd have to wrap his leg around it backwards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that little memory. I remember meeting him as a kid and being very enamored with him, and you know, because I had watched him on TV. And, it was like one of the first famous people I met.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Mail sack?
Yeah, let's get into mail sack.
Beep, 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 beep. Mail sack.
We're going to get mail.
We're going to the mail sack. Mail sack. Why are we calling it mail sack?
Okay, here's
right,
a question
questions,
from
go.
Alan. Alan said, first, Dear Katee, I wanted to reach out as both a longtime fan of Battlestar Galactica and as someone who went on to serve in the military after discovering the show. Alan says a lot of great things after that about your performance and Aaron, talking about our great episode with Aaron. And then he says, so my question is, when you were building Starbuck and when you and Aaron were working through your numerous heavy scenes, were you consciously drawing on real military psychology or trauma? Did you engage with veterans or active service members, or was it more intuitive, drawn from your own emotional experiences and acting instincts?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
We went to a boot camp, and it was like actor boot camp, but it was a time where everyone was signing up because 9/11 had just happened, right? And everyone was signing up for the military. And we were all like, are we going to like an active boot camp? Like I was legitimately like, are we like going to an active boot camp? Like I was like, fuck, where are we going?
You're going to get confused and forget you're an actor and
right?
ship you out.
As I'm clutching my pillow. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for this.
This is not Vancouver.
Yeah. Exactly. Why did we just cross the border? And so we had military advisors on the show.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is also military, and my uncle's military. My uncle was a Marine, like Project Orange and shit like that. Like he's Marine. And so I have family to draw from. But I think that for me, it's always, you make your choices as an actor, and you don't necessarily need to understand what your character's going through. You don't have to have gone through something similar. But what you need to be able to do is you need to associate it closely with something you've gone through so you can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And your sensory stuff is all sort of on point. So it doesn't necessarily, as long as it looks like you've made choices and you look like you know what you're going through, that's all that matters.
It reminds me of that story that Troy Baker told about the project he was working on, and the director gave the other actor a note.
The young kid
a note, and Troy completely disagreed with it, but didn't say anything until afterwards. And then the director was just like, well, I needed them to make some sort of choice. It doesn't matter if it was the right choice. Just like they need to make a choice.
Yeah. That's all that matters, is that actors make choices because you see the choices. You don't necessarily see the what they mean or what the choice even is, just as long as they've made one.
What do you think that does for you as an actor?
Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does it give you something to work with too? It's like,
yeah,
it makes it so you're not just saying the lines, you're putting something behind the lines.
Yeah. So I've talked about this a little bit in relation to like the Longmire scenes where Vic loses her baby and blames it on herself and almost takes her own life. It was a really hard scene for me to film because my friend Keenan took his own life in a very similar way with a weapon. Yeah. And so I had that, but I'd never lost a pregnancy like that traumatically.
Yeah.
And up till that point hadn't lost a pregnancy. So I didn't have that to draw from. But what I did have to draw from was, what if I can never have children? What if something I've wanted my entire life is taken away from me because of a decision that I made?
Right.
And that sort of grappling with that. And so I had to make a choice. I had to make choices. And so for her, I made a bunch of choices. and I don't even remember what they were at the time. But I had somebody reach out to me and tell me that that was the first time that they'd seen the trauma of loss, of pregnancy loss. That it moved them. And it was the first time, because they had lost pregnancies, that they'd seen it accurately depicted. And it was because I made choices, not because I knew what that felt like. And so that's sort of why it's important. Had I just gone through it and tried to pretend, there would have been nothing in the eyes.
Yeah. It needs to be there. I mean, you have talked about that in other senses as well on the show, like, you know, especially on Longmire with your character's relationship with
Walt.
With your character's relationship with Walt, how those thoughts are in your head, even when you're just having a mundane scene with him, you know, about something like that kind of stuff affects you. Like, you have to make the choice of how does Vic relate to Walt, even when you guys are talking about, you know, whatever related to the show. Not
well, because that's the texture of a show, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes someone said to me that it always looks like my characters have a secret. Like, that's cool, right?
That is cool.
It makes you go, oh shit, what's she actually thinking about in this scene?
Right.
But I remember just for example, like if Walt and Vic are in a car and they're talking about some case, and she's looking at him out the side of her eye. And she's daydreaming as he's talking. And they're literally talking. What's she thinking about?
Yeah.
I can tell you what she's thinking about.
Yeah.
She's going, should I feel the way that I feel about this man? Wait, why do I feel like this way? God, but I just got divorced. I shouldn't be thinking about him. What about Sean? Oh my God, I just want to kiss this man. Why do I want to kiss him? This is so wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's what she's thinking about.
Yeah.
And you see that when, you know, so it just makes scenes more interesting.
Yeah. Well, this is a good comment here from our YouTube to end this section on.
Great.
This is from Bubbly14 on our Aaron Douglas episode. Said, the way Aaron talks about Deadwood is how I and countless others talk about your show, Battlestar. So,
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I saw a quote the other day. It wasn't a quote, but somebody said that Battlestar Galactica and Mandalorian are on the list of the top 25 best shows of all time.
Wow. Look at you.
And I was like,
yeah,
there you go.
Still got to get that Star Trek, though.
I know. I'm going for it. I think this is a great place to end. But we're going to go into the Patreon and we're going to answer some more questions. Yeah,
and I want to go over some more of George's great performances from other media he's been in.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about Carrie a little bit. I'm going to give an update on the merch. You know, all that fun stuff. I'm going to talk a bit about dog training and how my acting coach has gone. All that fun stuff. We're going to get into that in the Patreon.
Where can people sign up for the Patreon?
So you guys, if you're interested, go to patreon.com/The Sackhoff Show. You are missing out if you're not there. Come support the show and join this community. I will see you guys in Texas. And thanks for being here. And we cannot wait to see you next Tuesday. And that's what's up.